It is a short week practice. Uh-oh, I'm hearing a chat come through. Hey, Patrick. Um, Remember, friends, let's only use the chat box if we have a question about our assignment or our classwork. Okay, we're not using the chat box to say hi, okay? That's not what the chat box is for, and you guys know the rules, so please stop. It's very distracting because every time you do that, I hear a little sound that tells me that I need to check what's happening in the chat box, so please don't do that. Okay, so for today's lesson, you'll need your handwriting workbook and a pencil. To do in ELA today is your handwriting pages and your IXL language practice, which is in Google Classroom. And today we're focusing on how we can make our handwriting look great. So for today's handwriting book, we are on pages 16, 17, 18, and 19. Your pages might be different if you have a slightly different set of page numbers, but this is what it looks like. We have this page that says practice at the top, and this page that says application at the top, and it has these different pictures and this set of words here. Okay, so hopefully we are able to find those pages. Again, I apologize, the page numbers aren't always going to match up. Okay, so the first part says verbs. Here are verbs, those are action words, things that we do from A to Z. These words name things that people do. Okay, so it says circle 4 things you do. Then write 4 sentences. Each sentence should include one of the verbs you circled. So I'm going to circle 4 things that I do first. I knit. I do like to knit. So I'm going to circle that. You guys should all have your handwriting pages out in front of you, and you should be circling the things that you like to do too. I bake. I practice. And I hug. Okay. So pick 4 things that you like to do from that list and circle them. Then you're going to use those words to write a sentence about what you do. And it's important with every sentence to use a capital letter and period at the end, but also because we're working on our handwriting, make sure you're using the best handwriting you have. So your letters are straight up and down. Your spacing between letters is even and equal inside of each word. And you are leaving a small space in between each word. Let's see, I hear a question. Anderson says, I only found 2 things. What do you mean by that question, Anderson? Okay. So what 2 things did you choose? Eat and run. Okay, cool. So maybe you have thrown something in the past. Have you ever thrown a ball? You could say, I like to throw a baseball. Or Or if you have ever visited a place, you could say, I like to visit the movie theater, right? So try to think of creative ways to incorporate these words, at least 4 of them, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys some sentence examples. And again, remember to use your absolute best handwriting on this. Now, that means you might need to write a little more slowly and carefully, but the point of this is to practice your handwriting. So I'm gonna do the first one, and I'll write, I like to bake banana bread. So I use the word bake in my sentence. And the second one, I'll just write hug. Nice. I like to hug James and Teddy. Those are my sons, so I can hug them. I like to hug James and Teddy. And then practice. Tomorrow I will practice my ukulele. I think that's how you spell ukulele. Tomorrow I will practice my ukulele. And then knit. Knit. I can't wait to finish. I can't wait to knit my blanket. I am working on some knitting right now. So I can't wait to knit my blanket. So you can make your own sentences. They don't have to be like mine, but just make sure that you are including those words that you circled in your sentences, and you're using your absolute best handwriting. And I'll give you guys some more time after our call to do that. And then this one says application, writing a list. Sometimes you write a list of things you have to do. And it gives you an example, things to do. Read my book. 1, read my book. 2, write a book report. 3, illustrate it. 4, color the cover. Do we have to do 3 pages? Yes, Annabella, you do have to do 3 pages. Just listen and wait until I'm done giving instructions, and then you guys can ask more questions. Okay, so 1, yes. Oh, yes, you're right. I forgot a word there. I meant I can't wait to knit my blanket. Thank you, Connor. Okay, let's continue. Let's stay on track here, you guys. We have number 1. The 1 is already written in there for you, so you don't have to write it. So the first thing I have to do is go to school. 2, and then write the 2 and a small period next to it. 2, go to James's back to school night. 3, buy Teddy's birthday presents. And 4, make ravioli for dinner. This is my real to-do list for after school today, you guys. So yeah, write your to-do list of what you need to do either today or this weekend, and make sure that you are numbering your list 1, 2, 3, 4, and you are using your absolute best handwriting to write your to-do list. Okay. Now let's move on to the next pages that I want you to do today. And this will be the last thing. So technically it is 4 pages, but one of the pages you're just going to read it. And it says, I'd like to be a lighthouse. And that's the title of a poem. Blow this up a little bit better so you can see it. It says, I'd like to be a lighthouse. I'd like to be a lighthouse and scrubbed and painted white. I'd like to be a lighthouse and stay awake all night to keep my eye on everything that sails my patch of sea. I'd like to be a lighthouse with the ships all watching me. And it says the name Rachel Field, that's the author. And then they have written the same poem again in cursive. So if you are able to read cursive, you can read the cursive version down here. It says the same thing. It says the same thing, but it's just written in cursive instead. And it looks very pretty. So over on the right-hand side of the page, it says write the title and the poem in your best manuscript or cursive handwriting. Remember to leave space for margins. So if you can already write in cursive, you can go ahead and write this in cursive. But if you do not know how to write cursive yet, that's okay because we haven't learned how to do it as a class yet. So you can write it in your best handwriting, which is called manuscript, and the manuscript looks like this. Okay, so it says to write the title and the poem. And I'm going to say, actually, you don't have to include the title because it's pretty repetitive. So just write the poem. I'd like, and then make sure that your lines are the same as theirs. I'd like to be a lighthouse. And then on the next line, and scrubbed and painted white. So make sure you're paying attention to where they add a period and where they use capital letters. So like over here it says I'd, that I is capitalized, the A is capitalized, and then there's a period at the end of that sentence there. I'd like to be a White House and stay awake all night. And they don't use a period there, so I'm not going to include one, right? So every time that they change lines, I'm going to change lines. To keep my eye on everything, and I'm going to change lines again, that sails my patch of sea. And then they use something called a semicolon. That's like a comma with a dot on top of it. So make sure you're including that semicolon there. And then I'd like to be a lighthouse with, and I'm sorry that my words aren't really lining up with the lines very well right here. Make sure yours are on the lines. With the ships all watching me. And they put a period at the end of that one, so I'm going to put a period there. So double check your capital letters, make sure they match, double check your punctuation, make sure that it matches. Write very carefully on the lines, and again, use your best manuscript handwriting or your best cursive if you know cursive already. Questions about our handwriting assignment right now. Andrew? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I meant lighthouse, and maybe my brain just had a little glitch and said White House instead. I'm sorry. I meant to say lighthouse.